Hello, guys. I'm glad to see you again, and thank you so much for having you here today and see this new video, not related to Evangelion figures, but related to some of the mysteries surrounding Evangelion 3.0, 1.0 Trace You by Time, and with in relation with other films, and the mysteries of Mark 06 and Mark 07. The aim of this video is to show light on the underlying issues that very often we take for granted, especially in the mysterious Mark units. We, we, we will see the difference between Mark 6 and Mark 7, seeing the differences in the design and differences that very often we miss because probably we are astonishing but by the images that the powerful images that we see in the films. So we are going to tackle some questions of the schools of Central Dogma, Mark 6 and Mark 07. Okay, so uh, as you see, uh, what I have here is the context. After 14 years, Mark 06 appeared at Central Dogma oversized and impaled by two spears of Longinus, surrounded by a field of skulls and at the top of Lilith's neck. Remind that Lilith appears beheaded, and his face is in Nerf headquarters. As you see over there, this is an image of the end of Evangelion, but in the manga, and here is the Lilith with March 6 of 3.0 and the head of Lilith up there, the Nerf headquarters. So, what we are going to establish here is that in my argument, looking at the schools and the designs of this Mark unit, is that the new Mark 07 that you see here, the new Mark 07 series, is a copy-paste series of Mark 6. Looking at the head of Mark 7, it is very closer to Unit 6. It shares the same mandible. You see the mandible? This is the little thing that uh, we use here to demonstrate that Mark 6 is mm, is the same of Mark 7. Or in other words, Mark 7 is the EVA 6 series. This is my theory that was built upon this design. Okay? But what happened? Why the Mark 7 lost his upper head of this cask? Why? What happened? Um, Mark 6 and Mark 7 are very akin because the mandible is very similar, or at least is exactly. This is the aim of this video. A careful look demonstrates that Mark 6 and Mark 7 shares the same mouth. This is what I want to demonstrate. Okay, and the other thing that I will show you is that the Mark 7 at the very beginning was like this. You see, this is the Eva series that are shown in the trailer that never happened of the final end of 3.0. But did you see a closer look? Keep in mind that this is quite similar to Mark 6. Probably Mark 7 in the past. In this long span of 14 years that happened when Shinji was sleeping in the cure of Unit 1 in space, probably the impact when Mark 6 hit the, the Lilith phase, probably the Eva series that shares the same design of Unit 6 loses, loses his head. Okay, you see several. When, for example, there is another question that if you remind that Kendo Ikari said in the last film, the Lilith and the Evas, the marks, sorry, the marks and the Evas comes from Lilith and Adam. In this case, Mark 6, Mark 7 comes from Adam. And for this reason, when Lilith loses her head, all the marks, all the marks lose his head at the same time. Probably was at this moment that um, in these 14 years, in the in the things that happened in the central dogma that we are not able to know more about this, is that the Mark series that were a copy of 06 lose the head. Lose the head. The process was interrupted. You know that Kaji stopped the, the third impact. And for this reason, Lilith, the, the, the body of Lilith remained. And the same happened with the Evas, the serial, the Mark units that remained, and but the uppercase were gone. For the reason we have this school. This school is very striking to note that these schools lose the mandible. And what we have here is the same mandible. The same mandible, either the same school that we find in Mark 07. So, Mark, these schools lose the mandible, but Mark 7 maintained the mandible here. This is what this is the strange things that, but we are very closer to know more about using this theory, the origins of Mark 7, only taking into account the relations between the mouth, of the mandible, Mark 6, and the schools that we find in Central Dogma. So, you know that at the at the very beginning of the film, you know that the 3.0 1.0 starts and unfolds at Paris City. where the mark 4444C appeared, and as we see here, it happened the same like the series. In this case, lose the head, and the Mark 7 lost the head. This unit lost also the head. This here was replaced by a satchel, by the covering of Lilith, but here was replaced by the skull that we find in Central Dogma. Probably these units, the angel, was infiltrated. Mm, this is not a far-fetched theory. My thoughts is that these Evas were some kind connected with Mark 6, and when the angel uh, occupied the space of Mark 6, you know that angel, the last angel, appears from the neck of Mark 6. In this case, these Evas, the serial Evas, and the rest of Mark units, lose the head, and for this reason they have these angel powers because are melted with the Mark 6, but also with the last angel. You see that this type of this halo here is the same that we find here the head of Mark, or in the school in this case, of Mark 7, and we find the same halo above Mark 6. So there is a lot of things here to tackle, and this is my theory. And you are free to discuss. You can make questions. This is not a easy issue to touch, but I wanted to provide you this my theory. This is what I thought. This is my theory about the marks comparison and how are related to the schools of Central Dogma. And thanks for sharing and for having you here. Thank you so much.